What's up, YouTube? Welcome back. My name is D, and together we are Guiding D Light. Oh man, hope everybody had a wonderful Easter. Do you guys feel that resurrection energy in the air? Has your life been resurrected lately? Right? It's truly seeing some miraculous things happen, right? Watching these energies transfold, and also how they're unfolding in other people's lives. There could be a lot of disturbances still yet in our fields right now, but if we come into this resurrecting energy, we realize the things that we intended for ourselves are now coming true. So when we grasp onto that and we hold it, man, it's just a beautiful thing, right? But along those lines, just a take back of Easter, right? I had to think about Jesus, and I heard this one thing. It says Jesus wasn't understood. They didn't understand Jesus, so they ended up taking his life, right? So even though we're misunderstood and we're misinterpreted, right, and people don't understand our multidimensionality, it's okay, right? If we love ourselves and we heal ourselves and we take the path of our centered selves, it doesn't really matter what happens in our environment, right? When you come into that self-love, everything is love around you, right? So things harmonize to you. But keep that in mind too, they misunderstood Jesus. For so many years, we've been trying to bring this Christ consciousness to the humanity as a whole. And what happens to us, right? We get outcasted, right? We get thrown into mental institutions. Been there, done that, right? It's just crazy what happens when we turn up our frequency and we decide to be the version we came here to be, right? That energy rises. We're starting to take our given birthrights back, right? We're taking our power back, and our higher selves, our higher consciousness, some of it doesn't like it, right? So it creates like this anxiety inside us. How do I know? I've been there, right? The anxiety burning inside of me, like, what's going on? My frequency is rising, and the forces that are trying to hold me down, and now I'm stepping on them, right? And they're like, whoa, freaking out, right? And it took me a minute to balance that out between life, everything around me, and just the way I perceive things, right? And obviously step back, humble myself, and it's taken me a good handful of years to kind of come into my knowing of my truth, but still be respectful of other people's truth, right? Because that's the important thing. Like, we don't have to alter anybody's truth, right? We just want to help them perceive higher consciousness, right? So if we can give them a few tidbits to raise them up, and it's beautiful. Oh man, these birds chirping, they're all coming around me. It's beautiful, right? Crazy weather too. It was snowing on Monday. Now it's Thursday. It's like 70 degrees. It's supposed to be 80 this weekend. Like, nobody's even got a pool open yet. Like, what's going on here? Right? So even the consciousness doesn't want with the weather patterns. So the consciousness wants warm, right? And then we get warm and they're like, oh, I kind of want it cool. It's too hot, right? So then boom, we did that. It's amazing to see how these collective consciousness, how much our mind can control things, right? So keep that in mind. Jesus was misperceived, right? And he had strife in his life, and he gave our lives, right? Forgive them for what they don't know, right? Things like that, we can build harmonic compassion and harmony for, right? Humbleness, right? Become humbled in your day-to-day walks, and everything's just it's gonna bloom and be magnificent. And there was another takeaway from Easter is traditions, right? And we might not understand some of these traditions, but the energy's there in the tradition. So if we take part in the tradition, especially if it's been a big bloodline thing, even though some of us aren't really tied to the bloodline, but we're involved in the bloodline to heal the bloodline, we can pull up these energetical magic moments that have happened on that day and time on the calendar, right? That revolution of the earth hundreds of years ago, right? So don't be afraid of the traditions, but in the same sense, don't be afraid to make your own either. And I'm just coming in all this light and this beauty. Another thing that kind of spoke out to me was the toroidal field of love and acceptance, and just it builds this way, right? But then also there's the toroidal field of the darkness, right? That comes the other way, right? So it's double spinning your toroidal field when you become balanced, right? Some of us are used to everything's driving us down, right? Beating us down. The world's against us. We got the world on our shoulders, and then all of a sudden we come up with this upliftment. But then we get too high up in the sky, so it's creating that balance of the two toroidal fields to equal out your gravitational pull and stay in the plane of existence you desire to be, right? Raising that baseline to where you need to be. Another good friend of mine is talking about the David Haskins scale of consciousness, right? How not everybody is above a 200, right? Some of us are at 600, some of us are at 900, right? doesn't really matter where we're at in the levels, right? There's no ego. It's not I'm better than you, but it's like a roadmap of where you can be, right? Which was interesting for me in my journey when I first started out, because I had a lot of egoic issues, right? I thought I knew it all, right? And because I had that mentality and I was full of compassion and pride, you know, it's keeping me at that 200 level. But working with different gemstones and stuff, it allowed me to raise my frequency up to a higher level, right? And then to see how the ego interferes and how the ego wants to be better, right? We're all God's children. We need to remember that. We are on heaven on earth. It is a beautiful experience once you fully grasp the innerness within inside of you. I guess what I'm going with this is, you know, with the Easter and the resurrected energy, allow this energy to resurrect, right? Understand, by you having a resurrection, you becoming freer, you rising up through the consciousness, right? You're gonna pull a turbulence of balance, right? There's gonna be things that want to pull you back, right? There's darkness inside you that wants to reflect out. So as we heal that, we get to go higher and receive greater consciousness, greater gifts, and greater abilities. And that, my brothers and sisters, is where I want all of us to be. So just a short one, coming on here, giving my blessings. Hope you guys, like I said, had a great Easter. I know it's Thursday already. Time's like flying. You know, it's like hyper warp speed. I'm hoping a couple of weeks from now when the garden gets going and stuff, it's like, all right, pump the brakes. But who knows? It seems to me everything goes faster in the summer than it does in the wintertime. It's an interesting complex of a play, if you will. But yeah, we just got to stay awesome, step into our power, right? And allow that things that are uncertainty about us taking our power back, the forces that be, right? You know, you have people and aspects on your consciousness line that doesn't want you to know that you are the most powerful thing in the universe, right? They want you to think that you have to communicate to them so they can give it to you, right? Always constantly work, I got to do this, I got to do that, right? Instead of stepping back and enjoying it and stepping into it and saying, I am that, right? Because once you become it, brothers and sisters, those of you who have went through that, you know. And then we just got to shed it to everybody else on here. You know, it's a great thing. You know, our guides are there to guide us, but in the same sense, our guides are to remind us of what we have inside of us. And when we put all those pieces together and we become a full, powerful, harmonized ball of joy and compassion, there's not really much that can stop us. And that's the beautifulness part about it. So with that being said, you guys stay awesome. You be you. You stay true. And until next time.